Welcome to your new favorite podcast, Glow Big with Stephanie. I'm your host, Stephanie, and this podcast is for all women. We want to inspire and empower you. We're going to bring you style, humor, entertainment, good intentions, big ideas, hope, and a little bit of sobriety in each and every episode. You can get all that and more at vibewithstephanie.com. But right now, grab yourself a sparkly water, put it in a pretty glass or a coffee, and get comfy and enjoy the show. Hey, beautiful friends, it's Stephanie. I am so excited to welcome you to our very first podcast. A little bit about me, in case we're not friends yet. I am a mommy to a 5-year-old boy, Maverick. I am a fiance to Will. I run an athleisure and lifestyle company from home. And I am on a path to sobriety, girl. And I'm bringing everybody with me that wants to come. I just knew that I couldn't be the only one. And the more I talked about sobriety, the more women came forward. And I just felt like if more women came forward many years ago, my mom would probably have been able to survive alcoholism. And she just wasn't, because it was so taboo. So I really feel like I have a responsibility to speak up and to inspire and help others and stop the stigma. I think more women would seek help in getting sober if there wasn't such a stigma surrounding alcohol and alcoholism. So here we are, friends. This podcast is for all women. We want everybody to gain a little bit of something from every episode. This is going to be very female-centric, and we'll have some of the most dynamic women on this show that you've ever met. And we're going to bring value, style, empowerment, entertainment, truth, good intentions, hope, new ideas, and of course, sobriety to your life. Speaking of dynamic, I cannot wait to introduce you to my guest today. This woman is an absolute star. I've been following her on Instagram for about a year now, and she's somebody I've never met, but I felt connected to immediately. And I know that you will too, if you're following her as well. After this show, you are going to just love her. She's a multifaceted wife, mom, multiple business owner, and one of the most down-to-earth women you're ever going to meet. Welcome to the show, Ryan Shedrick. I'm so happy that you're my first guest. I'm nervous, but you're going to make it all right. You have like 44,000 followers. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to reach out to her. But when I saw that you were sober curious, I was like, oh, that's my in. I can totally say hi to her now. I think you were like 10 days in or something, and I didn't even know you were starting that. So I felt more comfortable to pop in and say hi. And it's really nice to see somebody that you look up to so much doing something like getting sober or on the same path as you are. So that was really inspiring. Are you still sober?
I am going strong, sister. It's been an interesting journey. When we connected over that, I didn't even know that was something I was going to be doing. It just literally hit me in the carpool lanes. Some of the negative stories and negative effects that alcohol was having on my life. And it was just like, I quit smoking the same way. I think like 11 years ago, I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? And I just stopped. So I just stopped with alcohol too. Like it was just, once it was in my brain, I was done. So yeah, going strong.
That's awesome. So how many are you counting your days?
I haven't been counting my days. Okay. Every now and then I look back at my Facebook post to see how long it's been. But I think my first month or two was a little bit hard, but now I'm just coasting. I really don't even think about it.
Yes. And that's something I would like to make mention of, is that it is going to be hard, even if you're not the heaviest drinker, even if you're not blacking out and causing chaos. It's still going to be hard because it takes a while for your brain to rewire itself. So expect there to be a little bit of inner turmoil, and that's totally okay. I have tips for that. And there's such an amazing community out there too, that is going to help you get through the first 30, 60 days. And then it really is kind of just coasting. And I didn't know you smoked. I quit smoking just a few days, like 15 days before I quit drinking too. Just like,
wow.
Yep, done. Just like you, I set my mind and that was it. Did you feel like your drinking was holding you back from?
I don't think drinking was holding me back from anything goal oriented outside of myself. But when it came to my personal growth, my emotional growth, absolutely, because I was using it as a buffer for nerves and anxiety and like, oh, I just need to have a drink and I can get through the Zoom call or like whatever it is, and using it as something to put between myself and an issue to just like, chill and release that instead of like sitting with a problem or sitting with an issue and actually working through it. So for the first time, I've actually sat in the feelings beginning to end instead of starting them and then drinking. So I don't have to feel the tail end of stuff and working through part of just my personal growth. I needed that mentally to let go.
I love that. I love that. I felt similar for the personal growth. It just wasn't happening. It was dimming my light. It was holding me back. And I didn't know exactly, couldn't put a finger on it or didn't want to acknowledge it, but I knew something had to go. And that's why I was like, oh, maybe it's cigarettes. And I'm like, no, girl, it is not cigarettes. It's the wine. It's the alcohol. So that was a realization. And I know you mentioned anxiety, and it also, alcohol has a major effect on anxiety. I used to have at least once a week, the room would spin and it was just something would overwhelm me. It could be a cup out of place. And I am not OCD like that at all, but I would come home from the grocery store and I'd be unpacking groceries. And then I'd just look around the room and think about all the things I had to do. And it was just like chronic overwhelm and exhaustion and anxiety brought on by alcohol. So did you realize when you were sitting in the car line that was not conducive to getting healthy and getting rid of some of those anxieties?
Yeah, for sure. Because when you're using something that's not meant to be a helper, it actually is hurting. It just makes it that much harder. And I won't say like cutting out alcohol has made my anxiety better. It was actually worse after because I took away that thing that just kind of numbed me out. But it has opened a door for me to really get the help that I needed and move forward through that struggle.
So you had a Band-Aid over something and it took a lot of courage to take that off so that you could get to the root of the actual problem.
Yes, absolutely.
So there's a lot of work involved in getting sober, but it's good work and it makes you feel good and you will come out much better on the other side having done the work. It is so nice to have a sisterhood and a support group within this sober community. And when I first decided to get sober, I had no idea there were other women just out here like shouting it out and recovering out loud. And that was one of my favorite discoveries. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Who helps you? Who have you been looking to? What podcast, who on social media has helped you feel a little better about this sober journey?
One of my closest friends, she is a sister in Seint with me, and we connected years ago when we both started around the same time. And she's actually the first person that I've ever known who was sober. And we went to our company convention together. And of course, I was that like, can I drink around you? Like, is it going to be weird? And she was like, no. So she was kind of my first experience with like a peer being sober. And she is incredible. Like her platform is totally about sobriety and how it's changed her life. She even has like this really cute clothing line that she has, alcohol less. So I rock her little sweatshirt, but she was the first person when I decided. I reached right out to her, like, asking all the questions, like, I'm not a drunk. Is it still okay to talk about being sober? If I'm, discovering things that are like unhealthy for me, like this is my journey and this is not okay for me. It's something I need to stop doing. But I was worried that people would be like, oh, she's jumping on the sober train, just because it's cool. It's like the thing to do. Or, she doesn't really have a problem with alcohol. Like, what is she trying to step on our platform for? All those struggles. And she was like, no. She actually tagged me when I shared my post about it. And I was shocked, like you had said, that there was this community. Like I had no clue. And the amount of love and support that people who are in the sober community gave me that I was not I was expecting the opposite, and I got just the most amazing support, and it's been really cool. Her name's Jenna DeLulio. You can find her on the old Instagram.
I follow her. And so just know that you're not alone. There's a ton of women, and I'm happy that it's the thing going on right now because it's really needed. And a lot of the research done in the past about alcohol and the harmful things it does to you was on men. They were always talking about men. The effects on women are far more dangerous. So I want you to know that there's a ton of support and it's just all good. So you mentioned Seint, and I know you have a ton of amazing things going on. Tell me about what you do.
Okay, what do I not do? Sometimes that's how I feel. So I am a leader with Seint Beauty. It's a makeup and skincare company. Love my team. It has my heart. I also have a jewelry company. So that's really fun. On my creative end, I have fallen in love with Savvy. I am totally here for that business. Also, you're probably like, oh my God, how many businesses does this girl do? But I'm just a big believer in if it lights you on fire and if it makes you happy, do it, right? Like, why not? I feel like our extensive collection of exotic pets is like another job that I have because they take up a lot of my time. We have 21 animals, I think.
Oh my gosh.
So I actually have 2 snakes and 4 geckos in my office right on the other side of this computer right now.
Not a fan of snakes, but your snakes are the most gorgeous things I've ever seen. Seriously.
I have to agree with you. They are pretty.
Seriously. And then some really cute little fuzzy thing you have. What is that?
Those are sugar gliders.
Sugar gliders. So
They're
cute.
Little marsupials, like little tiny kangaroos.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
They are. They have pouches.
That is adorable.
Like a kangaroo.
That is
adorable. So yeah, I do all that. And then, I'm a wife and mom that takes up most of my time outside of business, but I love doing all the things that I do. Just anything that sparks my fire, I'm here for.
Yeah, you can tell you're really passionate about everything that you do. I love your jewelry. I love Savvy. I love your snake, even your snakes. and I love watching you because your content's gorgeous. Everything is just so on point. So what do you do to prevent burnout? How do you prevent burnout with all the things that you do?
I actually learned that hard lesson. My journey with Seint was one where my first year, I didn't hardly do anything. I had a fire lit under my butt at the end of that year. My second year, I went all in with the business. I went from 9 girls on my team to almost 1,000 girls on my team. And I was doing all the things. Like I had just found my passion. I was putting everything into it. And then January 2021, I crashed and burned because I kind of associate it with if you're dumping out a gallon of milk, but you're like putting drips in there, trying to keep it full, like that does not add up. I thought listening to a podcast, once a week or like going for a walk was enough to fill my cup, but I was putting out way more than I was putting in. So this past year, 2021, was a big year for growth for me as far as burnout, learning to do less better, realizing that I don't have to do everything for my team. I don't have to do like all the little stuff. You can rely on people around you to help and delegate and let go of some of that control. But sometimes I've heard it said like B+ work runs the world. It doesn't have to be A+ work. And kind of letting go of some of that, realizing that my mental health and taking time for myself and making sure that I am at peace with everything is far more important. Taking time to rest, those things I really, really put into practice. And I went as hard into personal development in 2021 as I went in the business in 2020. And it's balanced out. So finding that way to really leverage, if you're in business, if you're in network marketing, leveraging tools that are there for you takes a lot of stress off. If you have a traditional business, planning, getting your financials ready, if it's burnout from mom life, it's taking time to not just be a wife, a mom, a business owner, but just being a woman, taking your woman time, just who is Ryan and what does she need to do? Not Ryan, the mom, not Ryan, the wife, but just taking that time to breathe and be quiet, whatever that is. It could be a bubble bath for you. It could be going to get your hair done, but finding the woman and really being in tune with her needs has been like huge for not burning out this year. And I have more time and more freedom and more joy this year than I ever have. And everything still's going. Surprise, surprise. When you take a rest, you think everything's going to stop. Right? If you stop and breathe, that like, oh my gosh, my business is going to suffer, my house is going to be destroyed, and my family's needs aren't going to be met. It's not true. It's just not.
Amazing. I'm so happy to have you here as an example that you can still be a 6-figure earner and take it easy on yourself and not have to crush yourself. So knowing that you have a team of over 1,000 women, how do you keep them motivated and inspired?
Actually, I love that question. I'm not a big believer in motivation. I believe more in inspiration. Motivation is just a feeling, like happy, sad, angry, and those feelings pass quickly. So really, I want to motivate them. I show up and I give them quotes, or we do team calls to like boost their morale, but I know that's not going to last. So I really work on teaching them to find that inspiration. Inspiration is what is in you that drives you to get up and do the things when you don't want to, being your own boss. Nobody's there to be like, hey, you need to get up and do 5 reels so that they're batched for today. Like nobody's going to tell you to do that stuff. So when you can really, really figure out what you're passionate about, what drives you. And it's funny, it's not makeup. Like this is a makeup business, but that is not my passion. Seint could be socks. Like we could be selling cute little socks for all I care. Like I love the makeup. It is the best makeup on the market, but my passion, my inspiration, my drive is what I can do for somebody when they get the right makeup, what I can do for somebody when they grab a hold of that opportunity and they run. And so I'm just a big believer in duplicating and teaching my girls. I pay for a lot of coaching and stuff like that, but I don't see it as an expense for myself. It's an expense for my team because everything I learn, I then give to them, and I trickle it down, and I really just invest in helping them. If they can find what they're passionate about and why they're here, what they're here for, what their goals are, that will keep them going when stuff gets hard.
For sure. Knowing your why is everything. Having my why helped me quit drinking. I had a why, a big one. And I think that will keep you inspired and moving all the time. So I love that. I love that. What is your favorite book? It could be Audible. It could be on your desk or your bedside table.
Favorite book. I'm kind of a book and an audiobook junkie.
Awesome.
My husband and I were just talking last night. I was in the bath. He was doing other things in the bathroom that people do. And he was like, so tell me about the book you're reading. And he told me about the one that he's listening to. And I was like, actually, I'm in the middle of 3 right now because like, I'm just crazy. One's a stupid romantic book. One's like an action young adult book. And then the other book that I am reading for the second time is The Gap and the Gain. It's just a really great personal development business tool, learning to not live your life in the gap of where you are and where you think you should be, but living your life going towards what you've done already and how amazing that is. So I love that book. Leadership is another good one that I really like. There's just so many. There's just so many. But my favorite, I love podcasts over books when it comes to personal development, but I love like the most just silly sci-fi romance, werewolf, vampire books. If it's a young adult book, I have listened to it. I go through like 100 to 200 a year.
So Twilight for sure.
Oh yeah. All of those, like total guilty pleasure.
And what is your favorite podcast? Or you can give me 3.
Okay. 3 faves for sure. Your Virtual Upline with Bob Heilig. that podcast single-handedly changed my business when I stumbled across it. Like, I didn't even know what personal development was. And listening to his podcast is what grew my business and myself in 2020. That podcast alone. I didn't even know what podcasts were. So that one, I really love the Network Marketing Ninja with Fraser Brooks.
Yep.
He is really fun. I like his energy a lot. And then my third one, I'll give you one of my true crime ones that I really like.
Oh, cool.
I'm a true crime junkie too. But Morbid is a really fun one. If you have a potty mouth, you will totally connect with these two girls. Oh, they tell you all the good, crime stories, but they are like beep, 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 which I am too. So I totally love those two girls.
That sounds really, really fun. I might check that out because I do a lot of personal development, and those are usually the only books that I'll reach for, Audible or podcast. So it would be nice to get into something a little relaxing or scary, like this sounds.
Yeah, don't get into true crime if you're not ready to be addicted.
Okay, I've heard that. So last question. Actually, I got 2 more questions for you. Your style is impeccable. I just think you are the prettiest ever. What is your best fashion tip?
Oh gosh. You guys couldn't see if you're just listening to the podcast, but when she introduced me and said something about me being fashionable, I was dying, like silent laughing over here. I have never looked at myself as somebody who's like fashionable, any of that. I think I have good hair and a plus size girl. It's hard, right? That's one reason I really, really fell in love with Savvy, because I was getting like plus size workout stuff from Old Navy, for instance, and having a really hard time finding leggings specifically, because I'm a big leggings person, that weren't like so thick and like uncomfortable around the waist. They seem to think that like they need to come up to here. I'm showing like my chest and like super thick. So like when you sit, it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm already plus size as it is. Like there's a lot going on this waist. I don't need to be squeezed to death on top of it. And it always also seemed to be like the ugliest patterns. It was like what was left over went to the plus size girls. Yeah. And that drives me nuts. So I live in athleisure wear. What can I say? These days and age, who doesn't, right? So fell in love with Savvy. And then I have a couple of plus size boutiques that I really, really like that I check out, weekly, just to grab a piece here or there instead of doing like a big shopping haul. If I could just get, a new sweater here or a new, top there, and then just build that way. But I don't know. I think my clothing reflects my brand a lot. I'm just really basic.
Oh,
very like lots of black, lots of solids. I went through my LuLaRoe phase where I wore, octopus pants and foxes on my shirt. So that was an interesting time. But yeah, I just kind of stick to the basics. I like to find pieces that are like timeless. Like you can wear different ways, different, styles, and keep them for years and years and years.
I'm so happy that you fell in love with Savvy. I know I brought it up to you a couple of times and you were like, no girl, no girl, no girl, no girl. Like, but you gotta look at it. You wearing them so proudly and so beautifully just totally makes my whole life. So yay. Okay. Last question. What is the best advice you would give to a woman who was thinking about starting something for herself, starting a business, starting a side gig? What's some great advice you would give someone considering that?
I think the best advice I can give is 2 parts. 1, put on your blinders. Don't worry about, what somebody's going to think of you. Don't worry about if your family's going to support you. Don't worry about if your husband fully understands, because when I started in network marketing, I mean, I don't even know if he still fully gets it. I think he's very supportive of it. He also watched me fail in network marketing and get really hurt and really burn. Our relationship struggled. My bank account struggled from bad experiences. So, he loves me. So that's like an entity that was hurting me. So he hated it. And I don't know if he still fully gets the structure of it all, but he supports me. And I think he's seen over the last couple of years how much it's changed me. But if I had relied on like what my mom and dad thought, or, you know, what he thought at the time, which was negative, I wouldn't have done it. When I started, I was a photographer for 10 years. When I started that, I knew nothing. So my first tip is to put your blinders on and go after what you're passionate about. My second one is to freaking show up for yourself. Don't sit around and wait for somebody else. When I first started photography, I was on my computer, Googling on my phone, sometimes Googling on my phone and YouTubing on my computer at the same time, trying to learn. I never asked anybody to help. I never took workshops and expected like magic. I just sat down and did the work. When I started my jewelry business, I didn't know how to make jewelry. I didn't know where to source the materials. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. And I just figured it out. I watched. Google and YouTube are incredible. You can literally learn to do anything. So it's like taking that initiative, the speed of implementation. When you learn something, put it into practice right away. Same with starting, you know, if you're jumping into network marketing, same idea there. You cannot look at your upline and be like, oh, this person's going to make me successful or not. It's you. It's all on you. Everything's on you. And that could be like, oh, I'm scared. It's all on me. But if you take that into yourself and you're like, whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to be the CEO of it. The CEO doesn't have anybody telling them what to do. You've got to be that person and you've got to figure it out. And if you really can't figure it out, you ask. Sometimes I need to do better with that with you. But sometimes I'm just like, Stephanie, what is this answer? And you can tell me like, right, go figure it out. That's good.
But I love it. At least I know you're there and you're, you know, when people go silent, I'm like, you know, I don't want them to think that they can't come to me, or if they're silent, then I know that they're kind of lost or they set it on the back burner. So I'm always open for questions, and thank God for YouTube is right, because I'm on there probably weekly. Like, how do I get this stain out of this thing? Or how do I do this?
Yeah. Like how much more
out of my car
feel when you're like, how do I do such and such? Like say you don't know how to do reels and you YouTube, literally, if you put blank for dummies into YouTube, it's like washing clothes for dummies, making reels for dummies, plants, like caring for plants, whatever you want to know. But how much more empowered are you when you figure it out and you do it and you're like, I did that.
Yeah.
That builds up who you are as a business owner or as a leader so much faster than if you're just sitting around waiting for like your quote unquote boss, you know, your upline, or some girl that also has a jewelry boutique. People have reached out to me like, oh, can you tell me, like, I want to start a jewelry boutique. How do I do it? What did you do? And I'm like, sister, you'd have to pay me big bucks to sit down with you for months and teach you everything that I know. Yep. So if you just do it, it's like, man, look what you've done. You get to say, I did this. I did that.
Same with sobriety. Decide, start, just go. Put your head down and just get into it. Don't think about it. And do not, just like Ryan said, do not worry about what your parents or your friends are going to say, because with both of my businesses, my skincare from before and Savvy, my friends, I've probably had like 3 or 4 friends purchase something from me. So they will not be the ones supporting your business. So don't even worry about it. Don't even tell them. Like, it's not, let them find out another way that you've started something. So yes. And blinders for sure. And that goes for comparing yourself too. I find myself doing that sometimes, and it'll just get you nowhere. We're all on our own path at our own pace. So that is it for this show. And I am just elated that we got to talk. And I know everyone has gathered a lot of value from hearing from you. And I just love this passion project. And I hope that sobriety is more of a movement than a trend. And I really do hope that a lot of women can just start to realize there's nothing healthy about it. It is dimming our light, and that there's another way, and you're going to have a lot of support. So Ryan, what is your Instagram handle and your website? Because I know they are going to want to follow you.
My website is ryeTheWildChild.com. And my Instagram is @ryeTheWildChild. Same on Facebook. Kept it all easy for you.
Okay, guys, go follow her. And for more inspiration and tips and support, you can go to vibewithstephanie.com And we also have a Facebook support fun group for sobriety, which is Sober Vibes with Stephanie. And we will see you next time. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks for hanging out with us today on Glow Big. We hope you enjoyed yourself. Please share it with a friend. And I hope you're leaving feeling happy and content and ready to take on the world. For more information, you can go to vibewithstephanie.com. Have a great day.